Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Millennial Smark, and I'm bringing you the slop, the whole slop, and nothing but the slop. I need to get back to my roots, man. Like, I don't mind doing news videos. News videos are like cool and everything. They get views, they're cool. But like, I don't really care about views anymore. It's boring. Doing news videos are not fun. I hate talking about current wrestling. Current wrestling is fucking gay. What I do want to do is get back to my roots, like to how my old channel was, when it's like I focused almost exclusively on the troubles of professional wrestling and talking with you guys as far as noticing the problems, noticing what's going on, and how do we fix it. I feel like I haven't done enough of those videos on this channel, and I'm happy with the 10,000 subs and all that other kind of stuff. I'm happy with, the views and shit like that, but I need to get back to my roots. I don't care if I lose a shit ton of views. I don't care if I lose some subscribers in the process, which I don't think that would be the case, but we need to get back to the roots, okay? We need to get back to the roots. And I can't think of a better way than to talk about this right here. So I got a notification, right, on one of my old posts, and I'll read it for you guys, right? Because this was on the WWE Vote channel. I guess I put this out there like 5 or 6 months ago. It was on the Rock versus Triple H Iron Man match from Judgment Day 2000, right? I noted that and I said, the crazy part that no one ever thinks about, this was May of 2000. 3 years, only 3 years ago, these guys were mid-carders talking about Rock and Triple H. I mean, curtain jerkers. We only go over people like Headbanger Mosh mid-carders. Rock was injured on top of that, which he was throughout almost the entirety of 1997. The landscape changed so dramatically that we went from Brett and Shawn in 1997 to Triple H and Rock, really, in 2.5 years, which that was the case. Rock and Triple H, for the most part, took over WWE pretty much around like the summer of 1999. Now, it was really on their shoulders in 2000 after Austin was taken out, but they pretty much became main eventers and right underneath Austin around the summer of 99. Today, after 5 years, we're still adding members to the bloodline. Mind you, I said this 6 months ago. 5 years prior to this, both were about to sign with WWE, talking about Rock and Triple H, which they were. This was 2000. In 1995, if you want to go to the beginning of January, Triple H was still in WCW. The Rock, I think he was still wrestling for Tennessee. If that, he could have still been playing football at the time. Regardless, Triple H signed with WWE that year. The Rock signed with WWE maybe that year or the beginning of the following year as a developmental talent. Or at the very least, I think that's when he signed to train with Pat Patterson. It's just scary how fast WWE used to move. And it just got me thinking, man. You look at the talent nowadays, right? And I'm exclusively talking about WWE here. You look at talent like Seth Rollins. And think about where Seth Rollins was in 2015 when he broke away from the Shield. Or I guess that would have been 2014 to where he is now. All he literally did was, for the most part, still Macho Man's gimmick and just change outfits every fucking time with no reasoning behind why he's doing it. Like, that's it. And he added a cackle, and now he has the crowd singing his new theme song. There was literally not that much of a character change between Seth Rollins in 2014 to where he is right now. There was literally no change to the aesthetics of Seth Rollins from then to now, right? Look at Charlotte Flair. Literally the exact same person in 2015 to right now. Like, nothing changes in WWE. Nothing. Everything feels like it's moving at such a slow pace to the point that even when they do make a change, they make a change and they just stay there forever. Look at Becky Lynch in 2019. She changed to the man, really 2018. Pretty much been the same ever since, with a little bit of Becky Lynch of NXT mixed in with the man, and she's a heel now. Same thing can be said about a Bayley. What has really changed since she changed into this Karen gimmick in 2019? Besides the fact that she probably got even more boring. Nothing has changed. Look at Roman Reigns, the head of the table, 2020. To look at it, it's still the same thing. Nothing has changed. And it's like, I can understand the argument that you don't want to change anything if it's like you're successful, right? And it's continuous success. But you see the company constantly dwindling in viewership and ratings, and you still don't want to change? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, and I talked about this in the past, but for some of you guys who weren't on the old channel, I'm gonna reiterate this stance again. And hopefully some of you guys are caught up on your wrestling history to know what I'm talking about. Think about January of 1997. You heard me say this talking point before if you're an OG of the channel. Think about January of 1997. January. We didn't even have a Titantron. There was no long ramp going from the beginning of the stage all the way to the tail end of the ring. None of that existed till March. Maybe February, but I think it was March. And look at the setting. Look at the stars of 1997. I love to use this as a talking point because technically you can say a year. Technically you can say a year. Now think about December of 1998. Think about the beginning of 1997 and think of the end of 1998. That's a year technically. The beginning of 1997, not just the aesthetics, not just the presentation. Look at the stars. Who was heading 1997 at the beginning? Undertaker, Brett, Shawn, Sid, Vader. Not even Austin. He was up and coming technically. Those were your guys at the time at the beginning of 1997. Who were the stars by 1998? None of those guys besides Taker. None of them. None of them. As a matter of fact, none of them were even wrestling for the company anymore besides Taker. Shawn retired, Brett went to WCW, Vader got fired, and Sid went to go play softball or some shit. Now he probably went to WCW as well. Not even that. I think he took a break. I don't think Sid showed up to WCW until like 99. Maybe he was in ECW at the time. But you get what I'm saying though, right? It was Rock, it was Austin, it was Triple H, it was Taker, it was Foley, and it was Kane. Those were your guys by the end of 98. That was a year. That was a year. Think about the beginning of 2024, January. Who was the top stars? Cody, Roman, Seth, Drew. Arguably, you could say CM Punk, but he got injured at the Royal Rumble, but you get my point. Who is the top talent of 2025? Roman, Seth, Cody, Drew, Punk. Same talent. Same exact talent. What's the aesthetic change between that versus now? Nothing. Same garbage ass rap music. Same garbage ass, boring ass production with all the colors. All the Nick Jr. colors. All the Nickelodeon Disney Channel colors spread around with the lights. It's boring. Nothing changes. It is insane to me to see, like, I'll put it to you this way. In 2000, you could watch Raw that Monday night. And I promise you, if you missed Raw that night, the following Monday, especially if this was like off the heels of a pay-per-view, right? Say this was the aftermath of a pay-per-view, right? The Raw after a pay-per-view. If you missed that show, the following Raw, hell, maybe even the following SmackDown, you're completely lost. You're completely fucking lost. Because 9 times out of 10, they're starting a new rivalry. They're starting new chapters, especially if this was the night after WrestleMania. No, really the night after Backlash, because typically they did rematches back then from WrestleMania to Backlash. The night after Backlash, you're completely fucking confused if you show up the following week without watching Raw that week. Or SmackDown even sometimes. You're completely fucking lost. Whereas today, I can actually miss WrestleMania, come back to SummerSlam, And nothing has really changed. Nothing at all. I say this because I be preaching to the choir, talking to, the people over 25 or the people over 30. I'm preaching to the choir because you live during a time in professional wrestling where it's like, you got this every week. You understand. Even some of I say 25 because at the very least, you were around for the tail end of the Ruthless Aggression era. And mind you, I'm not really what you would call a big fan of that 2007, 2008, 2009 time frame, although it is a billion times better than today. You don't know what you got till it's fucking gone. But even at that time frame, if for nothing else, there was continuity, and at least it was something worth a damn to watch. The shows as a whole, maybe not so good, but there was one or two things you could sink your teeth into, right? Hell, at the very least, if you didn't like Raw, you can always catch SmackDown. You look at the program nowadays, I don't want to catch either. I don't give a fuck about anybody. And this is not a knock on the talent. I'm not knocking the talent. I'm knocking the people who are in charge of the talent. I'm knocking the people who aren't given the challenges to the talent to overcome or to overachieve on to give us a reason to want to watch. That's my problem. Everything feels so complacent. Everything feels so fucking slow in WWE to the point where I watch the product nowadays and I say to myself, and I stated this in the past as well, I try my best to find a favorite, right? I try my best to say to myself, is there someone who I can get behind, who I can follow, who I can at least say to myself, okay, well, they're worthy to get behind because the end goal is going to justify the means. No, nobody. And I like this comment, actually. This was like right underneath my thread. If I can kind of segue here for a minute. Someone pointed this out and I really, really love how they broke this down. Here, hang on. They said, time used to move faster. In the 90s, you never saw famous people from the 70s. But in the 2020s, many famous people from the 90s are still famous. And that's so true. And it's crazy. It is crazy to think about that. You look at the 1970s and think about all the famous people back in the 1970s, right? Right? You think of, say, for an example, Sly, right? You think of Farrah Fawcett, right? Who else? There's so many people from the 70s who you can notate as famous. And the only time you've seen them in the 90s is they were making a guest appearance on a television show. Look at all the artists. Look at all the artists from the 1970s. Practically none of them, besides Michael Jackson, really floated into the 90s and was still overly popular towards the end of the 1990s. Really, the only one on top of my head is maybe Michael Jackson. I'm pretty sure there were probably a few here and there, but Michael Jackson is the only one that comes to mind. And even then, he was within the Jackson 5. Now, granted, by the late 70s, he was solo, but you get what I'm saying, though. And look at the 90s, bruh. Look at the 90s. Almost every famous rapper of the 90s and the early 2000s, for the most part, are still pretty relevant nowadays. Kanye West is still relevant. 50 Cent is still relevant. Eminem is still relevant. All these guys are still relevant today. They shouldn't be, technically speaking, if you want to go off of the patterns of how it was back in the days. But that was just the way that it is. It was like a recycling thing, right? Wrestling was pretty much the same way. You look at the stars of the 1970s, who in the fuck was over in the territories or that big in general in the 1970s who carried over to the 1990s besides maybe Ric Flair? I'm talking about towards the late 90s, by the way. By the late 90s, the only one who was relevant in the 1970s who was really popular and still carried over to it was Flair. It was Flair. That's it. Whereas you look at the 90s versus today, everybody is still relevant from the Attitude Era. Austin, Taker, Kane, Shawn, Bret, NWO, all of them, Taker, Foley, all of them still super relevant. Big Show, Jericho, Benoit, Eddie, all of those names that Eddie's been dead for 20 years and he still gets bigger pops than most of the superstars nowadays. But look back about 15 years ago. Look at the mid-card scene about 15 years ago, almost 20 years ago. Who remembers a Mr. Kennedy? Huh? Who remembers a Muhammad Hassan? Huh? Who remembers, say for an example, oh, I'm gonna throw out a name for you that you probably didn't even think about or pop up in your remember Mordecai? Huh? Remember Mordecai? He was getting the push? Kevin Thorne? Huh? Getting his booty hole touched by Pat Patterson and shit? I'm just suggesting, like, the reason why the 90s guys got so over is because you put so much time and effort behind them that people had a reason to want to get behind them. And it's like, you don't get that nowadays. Everything just feels like it's lagging at a slower and slower and slower and slower pace. You go from May to June and the same thing, the same pacing from May to June today. You can get that much 4 weeks worth of television in one episode of Monday Night Raw back in the days. I only tell you guys this speaking to the people who are younger, because I know you get offended for some reason when people bring things up with this. Oh, stop harping on the old days. Stop harping on these. It's not harping. It's telling you what you can have. It's telling you what you should have. It's telling you. It's crazy too, because you see so many times. How many times have you seen the most mundane things in wrestling today get over, and it's like everybody loses their fucking mind? And you look at that and you go, oh, that's what's up. But like, I mean, we kind of got that on any given Raw or SmackDown. Sometimes even Sunday Night Heat. I'm not knocking it. It's what's up. That's good. That's quality. But like, we get that kind of emotional attraction anytime on a Monday Night Raw. Right? I'll give you an example. I thought Sami Zayn, you know, the stuff with him and Roman at the Royal Rumble back in what that would have been like 2023. Thought that was cinema. That was dope as fuck. Guess what? We found out who hit Austin with the car on an episode of Monday Night Raw. We found out who was the mastermind behind who set Rikishi up on an episode of Monday Night Raw. You know, you got to play all that out on a fucking pay-per-view. And maybe, just maybe, people will react to it and resonate with it, and it will stay in their mind for the next 20 years, like Austin and Triple H and Rikishi has done for the last 25 years. I'm only pointing the things out that I know you guys don't want to admit if you're younger, because you hate being talked down to. But I promise you, it's not talking down to you. It's trying to connect with you and let you know that you can have more. You have social media. We didn't have social media back then. At least not to the degree as to how you guys had it. Back when I was a teenager, I was still on AOL chat. I was still on forums back in like the early 2000s when I was a teenager. Y'all cats got Twitter. Y'all cats got Instagram. You got TikTok. You got YouTube. As far as, hell, YouTube ain't even close to how it was today as it was back in 2005. You got all of this shit at the palm of your fucking hands, and yet you keep letting these people get away with it. You keep posting shit like cinema for the most mundane shit that you forget about 2 weeks later. Look what happened with R-Truth. Look what happened with R-Truth. That was just in June. Remember that? R-Truth was the hottest thing for about 2 weeks. And what happened? Exactly. Because y'all keep letting them get away with it. And then y'all get mad, and then y'all say things like, don't bring up all these, don't bring them, shit, bro. Then how the fuck is anyone even gonna notice the problems? How are you gonna progress and get what we have back then when you can sit back and say, oh, I had so much fun watching our product at the time, if you ain't even willing to hold them accountable for the lame shit that they do nowadays? But hey, man, I'm gonna let you guys talk to each other, amongst each other. This is your Thanksgiving video. And trust me, I'm gonna start little by little. I'm gonna still talk about the news. Don't get it twisted. But little by little, I need to get back to how I was with the old channel. And I need to start doing more topics like this. I need to start doing more tier lists. I need to start getting back to how the channel used to be. More retro pay-per-view reviews, all that kind of shit. How the channel was supposed to be, bruh. I promise you, going into 2026, That's the idea. News will be talked about. And even then, I want to go back to like the single issue videos also, man. Like focus on one issue and talk about it and keep it at that. But more so just get right back to the actual topics at hand as to how the channel used to be, man. I promise you, going into 2026, the old millennial is coming back. I promise you. But with that being said, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I'll be catching y'all later. A deuces and a P. Ice.